June 16, 1976. A pivotal event unfolded in South Africa. It would forever shape the nation's history. The day marked the beginning of a powerful movement by the country's youth, driven by their quest for freedom, equality, and the right to quality education. The events of June 16, 1976 were ignited in the township of Soweto, just outside of Johannesburg. Thousands of students took to the streets, protesting against the enforced use of the Afrikaans language as a medium of instruction in schools. The apartheid government responded with brutality, unleashing armed forces upon unarmed protesters. The world watched in horror. The photograph of a lifeless Hector Peterson, a 13-year-old student, being carried by Mbuyisa Makubo. It captured the reality of the struggle and the human cost of apartheid. This image, which was taken by photographer Sam Nzima, became a symbol of resistance and a rallying cry for change. Now, a museum named in Hector Peterson's honor stands 2 blocks away from where he was shot and killed in Orlando West, Soweto. Hector's sister, Antoinette Sitole, who can be seen running alongside Makubo in anguish in the iconic picture, is now a tour guide at the museum. Today, June 16th, is commemorated annually as Youth Day in South Africa, a day that honors the courage and resilience of the youth of 1976 and serves as a reminder of the sacrifices made by that young generation in their fight for justice and a better future. Recently, South Africa has witnessed a resurgence of young activism. One notable movement is the Fees Must Fall campaign, which emerged in 2015. Young people demanding free, quality education for all. Students across the country took to the streets, organized peaceful protests, and engaged in dialogues with government officials. Their demand? Reforms in the education system. The Fees Must Fall movement sparked a national conversation on the accessibility and affordability of higher education. It inspired young people to challenge the status quo and fight for a fairer society. These activists continue to push for change, advocating for educational opportunities, social justice, and the eradication of inequality, just like their 1976 predecessors. And no matter where we find ourselves in the world, South Africans still draw inspiration from the youth of 1976. Even in the bustling streets of New York City, their legacy resonates deeply with those who carry the spirit of their homeland.
What does June 16, 1976 and Youth Day mean to me? It means responsibility. It means that you're never too young to take responsibility for your future. You're never too young to take responsibility for your freedom. And you're never too young to be liable for not taking those seriously.
For me, the courage and the brevity of the youth of 1976 is not only an inspiration to the millions that followed, but also a reminder that young people have the ability to be the change that they want to see. Here I am in New York City with so many other South Africans living what many would consider a dream, but we can only but take a leaf from the book of those courageous men and women in 1976 who paved the way for people like us. They took a stand against a just government, and they ensured that future generations would not and should not allow anybody to take responsibility for their history and for their life stories. The challenges back home are many, but not insurmountable. A luta continua.
The events of 1976 to me means we lived as we rise. And this coming from the famous picture of Hector Peterson being carried during the riot. And it's just reminding me that in that chaos, in that state of fear, they remembered to lift as they were rising. And It reminds me that regardless of where I am, regardless of what I'm doing, I need to just remember to lift the people around me. I need to remember to lift South Africans around me as I rise. And each and every black child needs to get to the finish line.
As a young South African who grew up in neighboring Botswana, June 16 has always been a day of remembrance and celebration to me. We remember the events of the Soweto Uprising and the violence bestowed upon South African youth who were fighting for their freedom and the right to a fair education. We also celebrate on June 16. We celebrate youth, we celebrate unity and the power of education. June 16 to me is a reminder that we as young South Africans have the power and the ability to shape our futures and our country. It is of importance we keep celebrating this day and educating new generations and those that are not familiar with the events of the Soweto Uprising.
For me, I feel that it has changed us as a country a lot, seeing where we came from people dying for not having a freedom of expression. And right now we're having a developing country where everyone is treated equal.
June 16 is just another day of a mid-spring summer month. Some know it as Tupac's birthday, and others as the day Kareem Abdul-Jabbar got traded by the Milwaukee Bucks. But you mentioned June 16 to South Africans, and in addition to excitement for festivities to come, there's a sense of loss that is acknowledged of our brothers and sisters that fought so courageously for our right to a fair and proper education. We salute them always. And though nowadays it seems their efforts are a footnote in this mighty story, I pray they feel the gratitude, and I hope we show it always.
What the events of June 1676 mean for me is that there is no one that is coming to save us, and I believe when I look at what the youth chose to do then, that they had gotten to a point like that where they didn't believe that anyone else could save them and that they had to take the steps to move forward. And the motivation I draw from the youth of 76 is to know that there comes a time where you have to take the steps that you need to in order to experience it tomorrow that you want to experience, and not leave it up to someone else to do that work for you. So the fact that this was able to be done before means that it can be done again.
If it was not for the youth of June 16, I believe that my education would be limited to cooking, cleaning, sewing, farming. So to that regard, I'm ever so grateful to the youth of June 16 because they have pushed us to liberate ourselves in education further beyond the degrading education system which the apartheid government and regime was forcing down on the black child.
I'm very inspired by the 1976 youth legacy. I stand here today living in the United States, proud to say so because of partly what they did, where they fought against apartheid and being taught in a language which was not theirs. I just want to salute them for standing up because lots of lives were lost and a lot of blood was shed on that day. It's a constant reminder to us that as the South African people, we are such a resilient country, and it fuels me to continue to be committed in advocating for positive changes in my community, both here in the United States and back home in South Africa.
As we commemorate Youth Day, it serves as a powerful reminder that the energy and determination of the country's youth can bring about transformative change. The events of June 16, 1976 remain etched in history, shaping the collective memory and inspiring young people to use their voices and actions to shape a brighter future.